Can you guys hear the dog? There's a dog that is determined to have a guest starring role in any video that I film here. Yes, I will credit you. Shush. Hello. Well, I can't say, I want to say welcome to Everdeen out of muscle memory so badly. Like, good morning, welcome back to Everdeen. It just wants to come out of my mouth, but I can't because I'm not at Everdeen. I am here in a hotel room because I am away doing my winter contracts. Sadly, I cannot be at Everdeen while I'm here doing this. So today we're doing another slightly talky video, but I think it's one that maybe you guys will be very interested in because today we're going to do 10 things that I wish I had known before I bought a house in France. Specifically an old house. This is going to have more of a lean towards if you're buying an older house. Because that's what I have experience in. We're talking about the things that you don't hear about, the things that maybe get downplayed a little bit when people are trying to have their like lovely social media lives of like, I bought a beautiful house, and they're not talking so much about things that are challenging or hard or unexpected or time consuming. So this is going to be kind of the behind the scenes things I wish I had known before buying in France. So let's get started. I've got my list of things here on my phone. And the first one is quite a big unexpected thing. It is dealing with notaires. So if you are not in the French real estate world, you may be wondering what a notaire is. A notaire is a lawyer that draws up contracts and deals with the paperwork and signing parts of buying any kind of property here in France. Each party has their own notaire, so I, as the buyer, had a notaire when I bought Everdeen, and the sellers had their notaire as well. The notaires communicate with each other, more on this later, and then they are the ones who do all the paperwork and sort it out for you to buy your property. What I did not know about notaires, and this is something I learned when I bought my first property in France, my apartment, is that first off, they will take so long. I cannot express to you how long they will take to do the sale of your home or the buying of your future home. I was deeply shocked when I bought my apartment. It was the first time I dealt with a notaire. When I made the offer on the apartment, they told me I had 3 months and all the paperwork had to be signed and finished and the sale had to be completed within 3 months. Cut to about 2.5 months later when I'm starting to panic because I'm like, I haven't had any word from you. What is going on with the sale of my apartment? And bear in mind, this is a notaire that was recommended to me by someone. So this is not the worst notaire out there. Couldn't get any answer from notaires. Couldn't even get an email back. At one point, I even went to their office and sat in the waiting room of their office and said, it's fine. I'm just going to stay here until someone has a moment to come out and just answer a few questions that I have. Not crazy questions. Questions like, when will the signing be? Is there anything else I have to do? Do you need more documents from me? That did work eventually. I'm not sure if I recommend that course of action, but it did eventually work. I did get some answers. And about a month late, so 4 months after I had originally made the offer, I did sign for the apartment. I did get the apartment. Everything was okay in the end. I will also say that when I signed for that apartment, the other person's notaire was 2 hours late to the signing. So I think it's just a notaire thing. I think they know that legally we have to use them. You literally don't have any other option other than to use a notaire. They're also making 7% of the sale. So for example, if you are buying a property for 100,000 euros, they're making 7,000 euros that you are paying for. And they just kind of live their best lives with that deal, I guess. I don't know. I will say that when I bought Everdeen, when I bought my house, the notaire was much better, much better. It still took almost exactly 3 months to get all the stuff organized, but the notaire was a lot better. I don't know if this is a difference between notaires in smaller towns and villages versus notaires in Paris, but Yeah, be prepared for a long, uncommunicative process with your Notare. No matter how good they are, my experience has been that they're all kind of like that. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully there are some that are like way better at their jobs. But if you know one, please tell me. Notaires, be prepared. So you've made it through the whole Notare process and you have a property that you've bought, that you own, you're very excited. It is time to do some renovations. I think on any property that anyone buys, there's always like at least a few small things that you want to change around just to make it feel like your own. You know, I think that even if it's in great shape, you kind of just want to make it your own. Although sometimes you're buying like 4 walls with no roof and no floor, so you need a lot of renovations. Which brings me to the second thing that I wish I had known before I bought a property in France. It takes, again, a time-centered issue, eternity to get a workman to come to your home and do work. This is not really the workman's fault. This is because there's like a huge supply chain, like over demand for any kind of workman here in France. They are just so busy that it is difficult for them to fit any more customers in. At the moment, I am waiting for a final confirmation from a workman who is coming to do the changes to the roof of the barn to add in aerial rigging points and to start the renovations on the inside of the barn. He came to see the barn in February, and it is now December, and we still haven't actually like signed the contract for him to do the work. We'll see what happens, but it does take eternity to get any workman to come in. I did once get very lucky with a plumber because he was new to the area and he didn't have like a large client base yet, and he was able to come like 2 weeks after I called him. But in general, it's going to take a long time for workmen to be available to come and to actually do your work. In my experience, once they've turned up and actually started doing the work, it's been like quite smooth and things have gone well and the work's gotten done in a reasonable amount of time. But just getting them there in the first place it takes a while. Plan on your calendar far in advance, pages ahead on your calendar for the workmen to come. On a similar note of renovation, something that surprised me that I wish I had known before I bought a property in France is that there are very few inspections when you do work on your own home in France. There's almost no one who comes in and is like, let me check that rewiring that you did or the plumbing that you did or whatever. You will get basically like before you sell a home that you have to have multiple inspectors come in to do a very detailed report on the state of everything in the home. So you will know what you're buying, but you may find some truly insane renovation choices. I'm going to do like a little video series of shorts, I think, of insane choices that I have found in Everdeen, of just looking at it and being like, why did someone do this? Why? Why is the bathroom in the living room? Why, when I bought the house, was the toilet literally facing the door of the bathroom so close that you couldn't sit on the toilet because your knees would hit the door? Why was there a beam in the kitchen that is cut off just before it reaches the wall, making it completely useless as a beam? Why is there a chimney pipe that goes like from where I think there used to be a hot water heater just into the attic, not to the outside, but like into the attic? Really interesting renovation. Why is there a ceiling that's made out of styrofoam? We have there's 2 ceilings in different rooms of the house that are made of styrofoam. Why? I mean, there's boards over them. Like, you obviously can walk on the ceiling above without falling through styrofoam. That would be truly insane. But who looked at the ceiling and thought, you know what that needs? It needs styrofoam. Anyway, very few inspections, very few sane choices. So be prepared for some unusual surprises when you're looking through your new property. And I guess just be prepared to laugh at them. That's my best advice, is just see the truly insane choice that has been made and then have yourself a chuckle and then call the workman who will come 3 to 5 years from now. Okay, my next thing that I wish I had known is about cars. If you guys are following this channel, you've seen the whole saga of me having to get a French driver's license because my American driver's license was not valid for France, and get a car and sort all that out. Now, fortunately, I have a car and I'm able to drive, which is just a blessing. But when I first arrived, I did not have a car, and this was a challenge because in many small French villages, there are no shops. And I'm not talking shops like, oh, I'd like to go and buy a nice new something, clothes or makeup or whatever. I mean, like, there's not a shop for food. There's just literally no shops at all. There's a church and some houses. That's what a lot of very small French villages are. There's also very limited public transportation in certain parts of the countryside in France. In certain parts of France, there's great public transportation. There's buses, there's many options. The train does come to a remarkable amount of towns in France. The train system is very good, but if you are off of that train system and if you're away from the bus areas, your transportation options are very limited if you do not have a car. So I would say either, if you're looking to buy in France, you need to really, really check that there is a train station within walking distance of you, or a bus. You can look online. There's many websites that will show you what the bus system is. There's the SNCF website. There's also a website called Rome to Rio, like with a 2, that I found to be very useful when looking for public transportation to unusual places. In general, if there is not public transportation to a place, it is going to be very difficult to reach without a car. In my village, there's not a bus. It's only 5 kilometers from a nice grocery store, but that 5 kilometers is very long when you're doing it on a bike. There's also a lot of roads that don't have any sidewalks. So even if Google Maps is telling you that you can walk to a certain place, you want to get on Street View or on satellite image or something and like visually verify that there is a sidewalk of some kind, because many roads have no sidewalks. And if you're walking, you're going to be walking in the grass on the side of the road as like trucks whiz by you. So I strongly recommend having a driver's license where you can at least rent a car if you need to, or really verifying that you are very close to public transportation, or getting an electric bike or something like that if you're very intrepid. I did a year with a bike as my only transportation in this area, and it was hard. So if you're very intrepid, go for a bike, but otherwise I would say car, public transportation really is needed. Moving on, if you are a person who is planning to buy a second home that you're not living at full time, there's a couple of things that I think are really important for that specific situation. I am not living at Everdeen 100% of the time. I'm gone working, or I'm in Paris doing my life there sometimes. I do spend most of my time at Everdeen, I would say, but there's quite a lot of chunks of time when I'm not there. And with that situation, it can be very stressful when you are at home and you're trying to work on renovations, you're trying to decorate and just feel at home in your house, because I've had a lot of struggles where I'm at Everdeen for 5 days, and then I know I have to go and work for 2 days, and I'm back for a week, and then I have to, and it's quite easy to let yourself fall into a very stressful cycle of, well, I only have 5 days before I leave, so I need to get this and this and this and this and this and this done. And then you really don't enjoy the time that you have at home, because you're really pushing yourself to get as much done as possible. And I am very susceptible to that. I really fall into that cycle very quickly. And it's not good. It's you want to enjoy this beautiful place that you're building, and this place that you have to live and feel relaxed in your home, and not feel like you have to work all the time. So I would say the thing that I wish I had known about that is that I wish I had known to plan specifically what projects I'm going to be doing any given week. And then also, if I don't meet that plan, forgive myself. Like, tell myself it's okay if I don't reach every single one of my goals for the 8 days I have to blaze through this project. I guess it's I wish I'd known how to relax a little bit more with my time frame. I wish I knew that now. I still struggle with that now. So I gotta relax. I gotta chill and just live in the moment a little bit more. That's one of my like goals for the future. Another thing you want to bear in mind if you are someone who's looking to buy a second home in France and you're coming from another country, I'm thinking of people from the UK who often do that. You know, anyone who's coming to France to spend part of your time, do be aware that the visa situation will be complicated. I do wish I had known before I moved to France how complicated it would be, just to kind of brace myself a little bit more. I still would have come to France, let's be honest. But the visa situation is a long process. I won't go like too much into it right now, but basically you're constantly in the process of thinking about, when does my visa run out? When do I need to renew my visa? When do I need to have more paperwork? Is my paperwork recent? There's a whole thing about like your birth certificate has to be like less than 3 months old when you use it to apply for a visa renewal, which is bizarre. It's not going to change. Why? It hasn't changed in the last 3 months. It's still my birth certificate. The information's the same, guys. It's an odd process, and it can be a very exhausting process, but in the end, if you are patient and have fortitude and keep at it, you will almost certainly get there in the end. It's a long process. It takes a lot of time and energy and thought, and it's just something you got to do, but in the end you get to live in France, so it's probably worth it. I think it's worth it. Speaking of paperwork and French law, etc., another thing that I wish I had known that I actually only recently found out is how many taxes you have to pay on properties. In general, I do feel very content to pay my French taxes because I can see the benefits that they give me, whether it's healthcare or social services or, you know, infrastructure or whatever than that. I do feel like they mainly get used for things that I support, and I don't feel particularly bitter about having to pay a higher tax in France. However, the law for properties has recently changed. I won't go like too much into the details because there's two taxes. There's a taxe d'habitation, that's your habitation tax, and there's a taxe foncière, that's like a tax on owning a property. And what that means in a nutshell is that before, if you owned one property, you pay your taxe foncière, and if you rented, you pay your taxe d'habitation. However, now the government has canceled the taxe d'habitation, which is great because it supports people who are renting, who are generally a bit lower income, and it's helping them, which I'm very happy for. However, that means that taxe foncière for property owners has gone up by like 1/3. Not insignificant. Also, if you own a second home, no matter what your income is, you have to pay both taxe foncière and taxe d'habitation on your second home. Again, this is a concept that I understand because they're trying to tax people who are wealthier more than they tax people who are lower incomes. And I see the logic there. However, it does kind of leave people like me, who are people with a low income who have just managed to afford a second home at a low price, who are trying to use that home to build a business, to give themselves financial security in the future. It does mean that we get kind of caught in the middle of that, because basically I'm paying the tax that's supposed to be aimed at wealthier people, but I am not a wealthy person. So there are probably some kinks that we could maybe work out with that law. It could be more streamlined, I will say that. If you are thinking about buying a home in France, one thing that I wish I had known is that there's going to be a lot of taxes attached to that. Prepare thyself. Now, a couple of specifically house and older house related things that I wish I had known before I bought a house in France. I keep repeating that phrase a lot. Sorry, guys. Is, first off, houses be cold. Old houses be extra cold. I thought Everdeen was quite cold in the winter, and it is because we don't have double glazed windows. We don't have a lot of insulation. It's not designed to be a winter house. I'm slowly working on that to try to make it warmer and warmer in the winter. Actually, when I bought it, it didn't have any sort of functional heating system at all. So we've added heating in every room. We've insulated some, And maybe in a couple of years I can afford to do double glazed windows, which would make a huge difference. But I thought the Everdeen was cold until I visited some other chateaus around the area, and boy, are they cold. Wow. Old houses be cold. I grew up in an old house in the US, and I will say that I never had the impression that it was particularly cold, but we were also in like a warmer area. And I have lived in other old houses, and I don't think that old houses in France are necessarily colder than other countries, but you know, be warned. If you want to live in an old house in France, you're either going to need to really put some effort into insulation and heating, or be prepared to be cold. It is what it is. Cold. Winter. Cold. I'm just saying words now. Winter. Winter bad. Cold bad. Not like. Also, very connected to if you're someone who's planning to share your time between two houses or have a summer house or something like that. I do wish that I had known before I bought a house with a not large, but like elaborate garden is how difficult it is to keep the garden in good shape when you're only there part of the time. I unfortunately don't have the budget to hire someone to help me with the garden, and I'm not experienced in gardening, so I'm probably not doing the optimum job of being efficient with the garden when I'm there. I am learning slowly, but I have found it very difficult to keep the garden at the level that I would like to see it. It's such a beautiful garden. Obviously, like, someone planted it in the past in a very careful and thoughtful way so that it would be a beautiful and multi-seasonal garden, because it's really planted so that each different area blooms at different times. There's flowers at different times of year. It's really beautifully done, and someone obviously put a lot of love into the garden, and I wish that I was able to maintain it in the way I feel that it should be maintained. I'm getting better. Hopefully someday I will be able to do that. Until then, I'm doing the best that I can, but I do wish that I had had a little bit more gardening expertise before I bought a house with a really special garden attached to it. And finally, number 10, the 10th thing that I wish I had known before I bought a house in France, which I think this is 10. Hopefully this is 10. The 10th thing is that it has been the most rewarding experience of my life. I know that there's quite a lot of things I've said in this video that sound negative or sound very frustrating, and there are a lot of things that are very frustrating about the whole process and the whole experience, but the frustration of this whole experience has been nothing compared to the rewards. Nothing at all. I can't even compare them. The frustration is this, and the reward is bigger than I can show you with my arms. It has been unbelievably special to buy Everdeen, to work at Everdeen, to renovate things, to have that experience, to find all the historical traces and feel like I'm continuing the tradition of people who have lived there, to see things change and become beautiful and finished, and know that I'm helping this house live on into the future is utterly priceless. Utterly priceless. I really would not trade a moment of the frustration or the expense or the just me sitting in a room being like, how do I do this? What am I doing? What have I done? I wouldn't trade it at all. I'm so happy to have this opportunity. I'm so happy to have Everdeen. I'm so happy for this to be my life. And it is just fantastic. I cannot express the joy that it brings me. And someday when things are a bit more finished and we're able to have more people there, we're able to start doing the aerial workshops that I would like to teach there, it's going to be even doubly and triply, quadruply more rewarding. And I cannot wait for that day. So this has been a video of me venting about things that were difficult, but those just don't compare to the rewards in any way at all. And I feel extraordinarily lucky and happy with how things are going. So that is, that's all I got for you. We've reached the end. That sounds ominous. It's not ominous, but it is the end. But before I end this video, I'll just remind you guys to please do subscribe. It is immensely helpful. It helps promote this channel. Also, it helps you guys because it helps you keep up to date with all the new videos that I'm putting out. So don't forget to subscribe. And also giving a big thumbs up, like of this video is also immensely helpful and very, very much appreciated. So please do those two things. And with that, I will see you guys next time.